and welcome to another episode of the Raider Nation Roll Call. This week, finally, and I apologize, but I have the last third of the War Room, the Severe Raider in the house. Here, thanks for being here, my brother. I apologize. I know we've been playing interview tag for the past few months, but we finally knocked it down. And we're not at my studio. We're not at his house. Tell him where we're at, brother.
Hey, man, we're at the Dank Crypto Bar, man. It is owned and operated by my oldest friend, my longest friend, Zeke. It's here in Hawthorne, California, man. So if you guys are local, make sure you stop by and visit, man. One of the coolest dudes you'll ever meet, man. It's a great location, man. Plenty of parking, plenty of choices here, man. It's a real cool setting here as well, man. So me and Doug, we were talking about it, man. We're trying to set up an event here, man. Maybe in the future, maybe a watch party, maybe possibly a drive party in the future, man. But hey, come check it out, man. Support local businesses.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's one of my biggest things. Being a local business myself, I love supporting local and small businesses because they are the backbone of our country, of our city, of our state. So with that, again, back to the man of the hour, Severe Raider. We're going to ask him, our questions to find out who is the person behind the entity we see on social media, the one that does all these podcasts, all these shows with, other content creators. We want to know what makes him tick, how he became a fan, and what drives him to do what he does. You ready, my brother?
Yes, sir.
All right. First question. The Severe Raider, that name, it's very like, bam, it's hard hitting. Where did the name and the logo come from? The rhino. What's going on with that?
So the Severe Raider. So my last name is actually Severe. Yeah. That is my government name. So everything I do, I always want to make sure I represent. My grandfather. My grandfather. He was it's an important part of my life. He passed when I was a teenager. So I always wanted to make sure I did something to big up our name. I thought it was going to be athletics, and that didn't work out for me. Then I kind of, went into music. That didn't work out for me. So when I decided to start doing this, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm still represent the name. Represent the name and represent the team. So, yeah, and then the logo, man, I got to shout out my guy. Make sure you guys check him out too, Big Mike Raider. He did the logo for me, man. He did too. I had an initial logo that he made for me, and then he came with the idea himself, man. He was like, man, there's nothing more severe than a charging rifle, right? He's like, basically, my approach to things, I take stuff head on,
That's dope.
I'm straight at you with this. So he's like, man, a rhino fit perfectly, man. So. And it's been gaining traction, man.
Yeah, man. It's definitely very eye catching. You can't deny not looking at your logo. Yeah. Because it's like it's a rhino, dude. Yeah. Come on. It's not a Raider helmet. It's not a skull. It's not a pirate flag. It's a freaking rhino.
Exactly.
So it's definitely very eye catching. I really, really love that. Being a graphic designer, stuff like that catches my eye. And when I saw your logo, I was like, oh man, that's pretty dope. Yeah. I gotta know the story behind that because I know there's always some story or some analogy or something that's connected to the actual logo. All right, so
it's all Big Mike Raider, man. Big Mike Raider. I always tell people, man, don't tell people I did it. Nah, Big Mike Raider did.
And there you go. Hey, man. We help each other out. Nation helps nation. All right. Next question. How did you become a Raider?
Man, that's my uncle, man. R.I.P. my uncle Dre. It's a funny story, man. I tell people all the time. When I was a kid, I had a pillowcase. It was like an NFL pillowcase. Mm-hmm. It had all the teams' logos on there. So the first team I gravitated toward was the Redskins because the way the pillowcase was made, it looked like a black guy on it. Oh man, I'm rocking this dude. But then, I would start watching games with him, and he just kind of put me on to. He was a Raider fan. My cousin, I have a cousin that was Lil Dre. He was a Raider fan as well. So, and he was kind of like an older brother to me. Anytime he would come around, so I'm the oldest of my mom's kids. I didn't really have any other cousins my age.
Right.
So the fact that my uncle Dre's one of my favorite uncles, and my cousins, my big cousin, like an older brother than me. The fact that they were Raider fans, it's like, hey, you know what? This is the way to go. And obviously I'm in LA at that time.
Oh, so the team was here.
Yeah. Just the team was here still. So, team was in LA. I'm in LA. Obviously NWA. All that stuff is going on at the same time. So it was like the coolest thing to be was a Raider. I think Bo had just retired. This was probably like 91. So I think he had just retired. So, but still, like the Raiders, like we were like the team, right? Especially if you're out here, man, just for the culture, everything. I just kind of gravitated toward it, man. And it's been, it's been there ever since.
Oh, of course. I feel you. I'm the same way. I started becoming a fan around the same time. And it was definitely a magic of that time. And for you, the great thing is that you also had family to kind of like guide you. And most of the individuals that I interview, it's always like, my uncles, my dad, my cousins, my brother, my sister, it's always a family affair, which is I think it's so awesome because you're connected by blood, but now you're connected by something else, which is the silver and black. So that is great to hear that it's a continuance in your family. Now, do you still like hang out with them? Do you guys watch games together?
Yeah. So
why not your uncle passed?
Yeah, my uncle passed away. Yeah, man, shout out to my cousin, man. He lived like far away for a while, so we wouldn't watch games, but like we talk. He'll hit me up, man. We'll talk trash. Always think about this, think about that. Oftentimes he's in my chat as well, talking trash in my chat, man. So shout out to my cousin. Dre, man.
Dre, shout out, brother.
Love that dude, man. He's been through a lot, so man, he's one of the strongest people I know, man.
There you go. That's dope, man. That's dope. Keep it going with the family, man. Now with your kids,
exactly.
You got to bring in the next generation. All right. So next question: how long has it been that you're a Raider fan? Like, when did this fandom start? Because like an example for me, I first became like a fan, quote unquote, when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
But like a true fan, like late 90s, early 2000s. So when did you become like just like a fan? Like, okay, silver and black, the Raiders are my team. But then when did you become the severe Raider fan where, you drop knowledge and like this?
So it was probably, I'm the same way. I probably like became a fan when I was like, 5 years old, 5, 6 years old. When I really started to lock in, same time, around the same time. Like right around Gruden. Right around, around that same time. Right around
Gruden 1.0.
Yeah, Gruden 1.0, 2.0. Yeah. So right around that same time. That's when I really start to lock in. And I was obviously at that point I'm a little bit older.
Played at that point, right?
Yeah.
You got to play.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm kind of understanding the game more. Friends as well. We could talk football, we could talk trash. The Raiders are good. They're starting to turn the corner. I'm really like walking around with chest puffed out, so so around that time is when I really started to follow like the team more. But it's still like, I would still say I was like more of a casual fan. 'Cause I'm still like in high school. And so it's like, like middle school, high school. Probably when I first really locked in to become a fan, like super following the team, like was probably that off season before we drafted Jamarcus Russell. That's when I really started. At that time we were, like it was a transitional period for the, obviously we've been in turmoil for a little while, but it was a lot of excitement, kind of around the team, a little bit more. Now I would follow the team, but I wouldn't really like follow drafts. Like I wasn't a person that would like, hey, I'm consuming stuff every day, reading always about the team. So right around that time is when I would really start, hey, you know what? I'm online. I'm on blogs about the Raiders. I'm in chat rooms, talking to Raiders fans like in the UK. So that's why I really locked in like around their times. And so that's why I like that Jamarcus Russell pick, man. That one is
that's the player we do not talk about.
Yeah, man, that hurt me, man.
It's kind of like a bad hangover experience.
Yes, to this day. Because Calvin Johnson, like, I would watch college football, obviously, growing up around here. SC was a big thing. I'm not an SC fan. Unfortunately, I'm not an SC fan. My whole family is. I kind of turned the corner on them there.
Who do you follow?
I'm UCLA.
Oh, okay. It's still LA though, man.
So, and that's why, because when I was a kid, like, I started watching. I was a basketball fan, like first and foremost. I followed basketball much closer as a kid than I did football. I would still watch football, but I was a big basketball fan. Obviously, the Lakers, the Eddie Jones, like there was Magic had came back out of retirement at that point.
Right.
Magic was my favorite player even before that. So,
Were they still playing at the sports arena at that time? No, they were at the Forum already.
they were performing. They were performing. So then, and then like UCLA basketball, UCLA basketball was good.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So I gravitated toward basketball. So I would see UCLA basketball on TV. So that made me like a UCLA fan and kind of adopted them just as my team. So, but Calvin Johnson that year, he was my favorite college because I played wide receiver. So I always like gravitated toward wide receiver.
Right,
so,
right.
My favorite player that year was Calvin Johnson. I was like, man, this dude is is a monster. It's like freaking nature. And the fact that, like we were in position to take them.
Right.
And everything I was reading, like I said, I'm in all these chat rooms, I'm in all these blogs, I'm in like, hey, like people are on these blogs, like they're saying they're insiders and they kind of know what the Raiders are thinking. So they're like, we're hearing that, hey, the Raiders brought in Josh McCown. So like what they're going to do is they're going to go with Calvin Johnson and yada, yada. So I'm like, perfect. I'm like, man, Josh McCown's going to be a bridge guy for now. And then they're going to try to get a quarterback later on. But Calvin Johnson is too good for them to pass up. And then, we all know that faded Sugar Bowl game. Jamarcus Russell and his LSU Tigers. They played on Brady Quinn, who was the other top QB prospect that year. And LSU just demolishes him. And then like Jamarcus Russell, we all know how Al Davis has that affinity for the deep ball. So Marcus Russell has a crazy arm. He's dropping bombs. I think Early Doucette was on that team. He's just slinging it all over. And Notre Dame at that time, they weren't a good defense.
Right.
So he's just making them look bad. He's out there looking like the best quarterback.
He was the second coming, man. He was going to be it.
Exactly. And then he had that crazy pro day workout, which a lot of scouts, like I think Mel Kiper and Mike Mayock still say to this day, like that's like the best pro day they've ever seen from a quarterback. Like just the display he put on in terms of his arm talent is crazy. I was watching our interview the other day with Marcel Reese. Marcel Reese said, one time he saw Jamarcus Russell from a seated position, not even on his knee, but seated position.
60, right?
I think he said 65. He might have said 65. I thought he said 65. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, do you realize how that's like no lower body at all, like almost no torque?
Yeah, that's all.
I'm like, that's the talent that guy had.
Yes.
I understand Al Davis played. It's Calvin Johnson, and the fact that Calvin Johnson went on to be what he was. I think Adrian Peterson went on to be like he was in that draft class too. Reeves was in that draft class.
But we're at this point in I guess our Raider fandom, we've gotten used to that, because we've seen that time and time and time and time and time again. Where we see these amazing players that we have the opportunity to pick up just go away because we want to get the fastest guy, or we want to get this guy in, and they don't pan out.
It was crazy because I was watching something where they were talking about like how bad the Raiders were at drafting, and it's like if you just look at who the Raiders drafted, there was a string of like 4 or 5 guys where the very next player that was picked after their bust was like a Hall of Fame player. So I think it was like Jamarcus Russell, then obviously Calvin Johnson. I think we took Fabian Washington, then it was Aaron Rodgers. Was it Napoleon Harris? And then right after was Ed Reed. It was something crazy like that. Right. It was like...
Yeah, it happens time and time again.
The very next player was like a Hall of Fame player. So it was crazy, man.
The only thing we do, that sounded bad. The only thing we do well is special teams for some reason. Kickers and punters, man. We are like number one.
The best. Like, since Red Guy to AJ to Shane Leckler, even Marquette King was really good in between. We got the kickers and punters like now. If we could just get the quarterback, like we got those positions.
Oh man, we would be so good.
We'd be in there, man.
It is what it is, but it's looking positive this season. I'm a pessimist, so I'm not gonna get all excited, but it's looking good.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
So
pessimist, like I am, among Raider fans, among Raider Nation, especially YouTube viewers. Me and my dog Chris, we are known as the haters. We are the haters.
First protect the shield. Right.
So that's kind of was in our place.
Well, it's cool because you have two pessimists and then you have 805, which
Exactly.
is somewhat of an optimist,
Exactly.
more of a neutral
Exactly.
neutral mind. So it kind of balances you guys out.
Right.
So that's cool because you don't just want to be like, oh no.
Exactly.
But no, I feel you, man, because the show I do with Chris, the Weekly Wire, by the way, we both have similar mindsets as well. You know, where we've gone for far too many years thinking very optimistically in the off season to see our dreams crushed during the regular season. So now it's like we don't drink the Kool-Aid. We see it for what it is. Yes, there are positive changes. There are positive picks in the draft. There are positive acquisitions. There are team-friendly contracts. All that is fine and dandy. But till they hit that field and they start scoring those touchdowns or grabbing those interceptions or making those awesome plays, it don't mean nothing, man. It's just words on paper.
Exactly.
Words on paper.
And that's, and that's the thing. And that's the thing, like, what makes it so hard, because I'm the type of person where I don't want to steal other people's joy.
Right.
But also don't want to set them up to fail.
Right,
I don't want to tell them, everything's going to be, like you said, everything's going to be fine and dandy when, in my heart of hearts, I have a feeling that it's not. And obviously, like you said, if the games are played, you never really know.
Right.
But, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's probably going to be a duck.
Unless they get hurt.
Exactly. So I just always want to keep it real with people. So especially like this is the time when there's that meme online where like hope like the Raider fan cycle.
Oh yeah.
Then we just lose, and then free agency comes around, hope springs eternal again. So I just don't want people to be in that vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And then let down.
I'm so done with that, man. So done with that. Well, anyway, let's get away from the negative thought process. Let's come back to you. So we've heard on how you got the name, the Severe Raider, where your background comes from. But now, more importantly, because obviously your popularity and your contribution to the Raider Nation has been as a content creator.
Yeah.
How did you become a content creator?
So it was never really my plan to be a content creator. I just want to go online and just vent. I think the first video I did was a video about, I think, Damon Arnett at the time. Damon Arnett, yeah, real deal, Damon Arnett. That's one of the first videos I did. But then the second video I did was about Tyree Wilson. It was about Tyree Wilson.
When he was first drafted, or?
Yeah, when he was first drafted. So it was like the day after reaction to us drafting Tyree Wilson. Because at this point, I'm watching all the Raider channels and the different people, and a lot of people are loving the pick. And I had watched, at this point, I'm really getting into like, hey, you know what? I'm watching college film. I'm scouting the players. I'm seeing like how these guys will fit in to be a Raider, like positions in need, all this. I'm doing all this stuff at this point, just from my personal self. So I'm informed on what the team is doing. So, I saw us draft Tyree, and I just did a video. I think I was at work in the parking garage, and I just had to turn my cell phone on. I just recorded the video, and I started, giving my thoughts on the pick, and then I think I sent it to somebody that was also a Raider fan, or I showed it to a friend of mine that was also a Raider fan. And he was like, "Oh man, that's really good." He's like, "Man, like you should try to start a channel, man." So then at this point, I'm like, "Okay, well, this is my friend." Maybe BS. That's what else is your friend going to say?
Right.
At that time, they was like, "Oh man, that's great." So I'm on IG, so I sent it to a few Raider channels that I follow on IG. Some of them, gave me feedback. Some of them ignored me. Still ain't responding to this day. That was how many years ago. But once again, man, and I can't thank this guy enough. But Big Mike Raider, man, he saw the video. And he's like, "Yeah, man, this is good, man." It's like, you had some good talking points. You made some great points. You seem to know what you talk about, and you look real comfortable on camera. I would have already, at that point, he had a show with Kangtown Raider. Kangtown, we need you back if you see this. But he had a weekly show. It was a Swaggering Boisterous podcast.
Oh, nice.
It was Big Mike. Yes, man, it's dope name. So it was him and Kangtown, and at this point, he's like, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to be doing a show." I think it was like that sometime that week. He's like, "Man, hey, like hop on the panel with me, man. Hop on the panel, you know, and jump on camera and just talk their stuff. And ironically, you know, this was the first time I met Chris, or first time I interacted with Chris, because
You guys were on the same panel?
on the same panel. It was me, Big Mike, Kane Town, Press Protected Shield, and Raiders Primos. We need you back too, brother. And Raider Ed from Raiders Primos, to be more specific. So we were all on the panel, and this was the first of many disagreements that Chris and I had about Josh Jacobs. We will continue to disagree. So it was a fun panel, man. And, you know, and that just got me just, you know, I never really had an opportunity to talk like that level of football with other Raider fans. Now, usually I'm debating with other fan bases.
Right.
You know, if whether I'm at the gym or like among some of my other friends, usually it's like, hey, no, I'm trying to stand up for the Raiders at this point. So to be able to have that kind of conversation, like within the family of the Raiders, that was like super. And I got a lot of positive feedback from that appearance, man. That was my first time ever going live. And Big Mike was just showing me some of the like the feedback he was getting from people like in his chat, or people that were DMing him like, man, who's this severe guy, man? Man, this guy's came out the gates like really knows his stuff. You should have him back on, bring him back. So back like at that point, I would go on every week with.
Also became a regular.
They came a Big Mike and with Kane Town, and then eventually that kind of like life happens, work, family, all that stuff. We no longer did that, but my guy Farrell, who's a guy I would always watch his show. Him and Raider Ray. We need Raider Ray back too. Man, all these people we need back, man. We need more content in Raider Nation. But they had a show they would do all the time, and it was called Undrafted. At first it didn't have a name, but then they finally settled on Undrafted. And from time to time they would do a call-in show, and I would call in there. And I would just give my opinions on there too. So they would always be like, "Yo, man, Sabir has great takes, always a great call." So one day, I think Pharaoh needed somebody to fill in. I don't know if there's a scheduling conflict or what happened, but it's like, "Hey, man, like you want to go on with me and be a guest on the show?" So I went on with him, and I got positive feedback from there too. He seemed to, I think we had a solid rapport, like solid chemistry on the show. So he's like, "Yo, man, we should do this, man. Like, we should make this a regular thing." Been doing that ever since, man. So yeah.
Well, now being that you're talking about how you made that connection with Pharaoh and the other content creators prior to, how did you make the connection with Chris in 805?
So
For the War Room.
So, what Chris, like I said, is that first time, that was my first time going live with Chris. I'd already sub to his channel. I had seen some of his videos. And in between that time, I think he had Hugh Jackson on there. Hugh Jackson was like one of my favorite coaches because he brought excitement.
Yes, he did.
It was a ray of light through the darkness. He always has a special place in my heart. And he's from out here too.
Right.
Even though he worked for USC. I'll forgive him for that. So I always kept Chris on my radar, what he was doing with TRS. So at one point, me and Farrell, we always looking for guests. So we reached out to Chris, and ever since then, like me and Chris, I hopped in a group chat with all the TRS, man, and we kind of been keeping up with each other since then. And with 805, it was the draft. Before the Brock Bowers pick, but he would be in our chat too.
It was like 2 years.
2 years ago. Yeah, the draft before this last.
Okay.
So he would always come through the chat on me and Pharaoh show, and he would show love, show support, and then he reached out to us about doing a draft party or a draft show at the Ahern and Vegas, because that opportunity had been presented to him,
right? And
he was looking for some other guys to share the screen with, actually talk football with, make a good panel. He liked what me and Farrell did, and how we were able to talk the game or production, all that stuff. So, we kind of kept in contact with each other too. And then him and Chris were they kind of collabed. They were cool, and then we all got on the screen and we started clapping together, and we was like, you know what? We gotta make this a regular thing, man. It was so much fun that first time that we gotta keep it going.
It was a great decision. You three guys definitely have that it factor when it comes to content creating, to having a football show, because it's not just a bunch of guys just spewing football knowledge out there, which sometimes that works.
Exactly.
You know, but with you guys, because you guys are so knowledgeable in various ways, like I've heard and I've seen that you are like the computer of the group. You don't forget anything. You have the knowledge at your fingertips, you know, and then Chris also is very knowledgeable. 805 is very knowledgeable, but also very organized and meticulous.
Super organized.
You know,
And
that-
he coached for years.
Yeah.
Like knows and Chris played at the collegiate level, and I was never good enough to play at that level. So both those guys, I think both those guys played at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
You know, those guys, their knowledge is at another level, and they're able to like explain it, which is why I love what you guys do. You know, like it does such a service for fans that want to know more about the game. They don't. All the content out there isn't necessarily digestible.
Right.
Then you also kind of want to weave through, hey, you know, this is kind of nonsense. This is good, but you know, I don't fully understand it. Well, you guys like weave that perfect path where it's like,
yeah, we
both worlds.
Yeah, because like I was on Rundown and Jay Rader's show this weekend.
Yeah.
And I was telling them that a lot of the fandom out there is more like myself, to where they love football, they watch football, but they don't quite understand the in-depth football.
Exactly.
So when I would watch TRS, you know, I enjoyed. I loved the banter, the camaraderie. But then they go into some topics where I'm like, I have to Google that shit, right? I'm like, what are they talking about? Oh, okay, that's what that means. So you know, that's the whole point of the Football 101 and on the Weekly Wires, for that type of mindset where I want individuals to be able to go to your shows and understand what you guys are talking about. You know, and not just go and be like, what are these guys talking about? Click.
And that makes the game more enjoyable.
It does.
Like kind of know what's going on. You're like, okay, like, oh man, like what is the little linebacker doing right there? Oh man, like why is the safety not like then they can know
Right.
Like they can really get invested because they know what's going on. So they're like, oh, what's going on? Like they can have they strengthen their conviction.
Exactly.
I love what you guys doing, man.
I appreciate you, brother.
That was a great.
I definitely appreciate you.
I think the elephant in the room is, you know, we talked about it. We all saw it. This guy, as a matter of fact, I think this guy was on the telecast for the Vikings versus Green Bay Packers game. Was this a Tom Brady related decision? Did Tom Brady order the code red? I want the truth.
Right.
You get out of the truth.
Great.
Bro,
people like
Nation. Our next question for the Severe Raider: how many shows do you have going on a week? Because I know you do 2 with the War Room and 1 with
Pharaoh.
Yeah, Pharaoh. Do you have any other ones?
So I actually do 2 with Pharaoh.
Okay.
So I go Sunday and Tuesday with the War Rooms. Like Sunday evening, depending on where you're at. I'm on the West Coast, so it's like you know, Sunday evening, and then Tuesday early evening, and then you know, me and Pharaoh on Tuesday, we're the late night crew. So on my Tuesdays, I do 2 shows those days, and then we have Thursday show with Pharaoh as well. During the season, we usually drop that on Fridays, but on the off season, you know, we'll do the Thursday. So yeah, man, just in terms of time, total time, it's hours. I can't even tell you, man, how long we go. And sometimes, you know, if me and Chris we get that itch, man, we'll do another post.
I heard. When was it? Week 2 ago, when you guys were on late.
Yeah.
And then for the War Room, and then the War Room ended, and you guys kept it going to like, I guess like 2 a.m. our time, which is like 4 or 5 in the morning for Chris.
Yeah.
I was like, man, because he and I recorded the following day.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, man, what's up? And a long night last night. Like, oh, you don't know. Severe and I still stayed up for a few more hours after that. I'm like, dude, how could you do it? It's like, hey, man, you know, we need to talk ball.
That was a good one.
That's awesome. Yeah, I called it at 11 o'clock. Yeah, I told you guys, good night, guys. I got to go to bed because it was like, it was what, Wednesday, Thursday or something like that?
Yeah.
No, Wednesday. It was a Wednesday because we recorded on Thursday.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't believe you guys did that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But it's fun though, right?
It's fun. I love talking ball, man. Especially, man, Chris is my guy. So, and like I said, we have like that's like my older Midwestern brother.
There you go.
Like that's my dog.
There
We got like me and him, we have so much in
Oh yeah, man. I gravitated towards him as soon as I met him.
Yeah.
I met him through Cheeto Linus.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we hung out in Vegas, because I invited him to a game once before, and man, it was just so cool. Just, you know, his demeanor, his presence is, it's just like, it's very appealing, very welcoming,
Exactly.
you know, and I'm like, I like this guy. And then the way he communicates and patient, he's not like very like one-sided.
Yeah.
You know, he'll listen to you,
Right.
might not agree with you,
Yeah.
but you know, still give you the time and opportunity.
Exactly.
You know, and I love that about individuals. You know, I don't want somebody, you know, putting me down.
Exactly.
Hey, you're stupid. You know, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, I love that about Chris. Shout out, Chris. Yeah, man.
And he's patient and lessons with Turf. My God.
Oh yes. Oh, those were classic shows. Let me tell you.
Him and Turf, they be going at it, man.
Yes. Yeah. Shout out to
Both those guys. Everybody in TRS are good
Yeah.
guys, though, man. Actually, sub to all those guys.
Yeah, but yeah, man. So it's two shows for different times a week. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then do you do anything independently, like videos or shorts or stuff like that?
No, I want to do it. I keep saying I'm gonna do it, but it's just hard to find time. Especially if I have a son, and I have a 5-year-old. Like, he started football last year. So, you know, last year was his first year, and so, like, you know, it kind of conflicts. And on the weekends, since I do so much stuff during the week, on the weekends I just try to be like full like dad mode. So
My boy, Legacy of the Shield, the one I do the Stogie Nation with, he's also very busy. You know, his family, work, whatnot. He has like an hour commute from home to work and back. That's when he records his shorts. So he's driving and he thinks of something and he just bam, hey, what up?
Yeah.
And just post it.
see, I'm gonna have to do something like that. I'm gonna have to do something like that where, yeah, my commute to work is not super long.
Right.
It's not super long, but I can find. I just have to find time to do it, just to record shorts. Or record like videos.
Right.
Like, I'm used to going live, but the video part, I haven't like that in yet. But I keep saying I'm gonna do it, but I keep procrastinating. So I got it.
You know, I think once you do it, you're gonna be like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, it's not that bad. As long as you put your logo, put your contact, and have some great content, you're good to go, man.
Right.
You're good to go. All right, next question. What distinguishes the nation, Raider Nation, from any other fandom from what you've experienced?
From what I experienced, man, like being a Raider fan, it's not just following a team. It's like a lifestyle.
Right.
Like, it's like a lifestyle, man. Like, people are really super invested into, like, you know, like their fandom and into this team and to what this team represents and how they feel connected to the team and how that team has been there through certain moments in their lives. You know, but we say, like, you know what they say there's 32 teams, but only one nation. And, you know, and that's how it is, man. And so it's just different. And, you know, this guy, I'm a Lakers fan. Like, the Lakers are you know, a great organization. I'm a Dodgers fan. The Dodgers are obviously a historically great organization as well. But, you know, I just feel, you know, more, and I've started out being more fan of those teams first.
Right.
But I feel more connected to the Raiders, and it's just, you know, it's just what they represent.
Right.
You know, so I just love it, man. And you know, I with the team being in Oakland for most of my life, I wasn't able to always like really experience it
Right.
with other Raider fans up there. I've gone to a few games up there.
Mhm.
I've been to a few games at Qualcomm as well. But you know, I never really like immersed myself or like really tailgated or anything like that. And so, but whenever I would get to interact with Raider fans, man, it was just always just a great positive experience, man. So,
Yes.
and you know, maybe like it's what they say is psychology. In psychology, man, it's like shared trauma. Maybe that's what
Could be.
It was like
Could be.
trauma bonds where we're like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
You know, we're all going through this, especially recently through this journey together.
yeah.
And so it made that makes you like, you know, that connection.
Do you understand your pain?
Exactly. So,
No, I feel you, man. I believe because the team comes and goes, players come and go, you know, but the Raider Nation is constant,
Exactly.
you know, and that to me is, I think, the driving force of my fandom.
Exactly.
You know, I meet individuals like you, individuals like Chris, individuals like Cheeto, individuals, you know, just so many Raider fans. Like not too long ago, I was up north with the Black Hole clubs over there. I met a lot of like old school Raider fans, you know, and they were so welcoming. I mean, me being from Southern California, being an LA Raider fan, you know, and it was so cool. And they go to tailgates in Vegas. And, you know, it's just something about just, I guess that shared trauma, like you're mentioning, that just makes it feel like family.
Yeah.
And I too am a Dodger fan, Laker fan, SC fan.
All those teams are, well, for the most part, they've been good.
Right. But there's something about the Raiders. It's just that fandom, man. It's family. Like I remember where was I? I think it was in Denver at the airport. I was wearing my Raider hat, walking through the airport. I see another guy wearing a Raider hat. We lock eyes, and it's like, "What's up?"
Same way, man.
Yeah.
Like, anytime you see a Raider fan, like you guys see each other, like they either man, like people will fight with, like I'll be walking down the street or going into the grocery store, somebody be driving, I see the Raider fan, they're like, right, like and that's just like that's just us, man. That's just us as Raider fans, man. So that's just like I said, man. The Raider fan base, it's different than any other fan base in any other sport. Like I can't speak to so I know soccer clubs and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, they have because I definitely. Because I don't know about the East Coast, because I've heard that like the Buffalo Bills fandom is pretty hardcore. Yeah, the Browns are pretty hardcore. Steelers are pretty hardcore. Eagles, yeah, but the thing is they're not portrayed to the public as much as like the Raider fan.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's a sense of fear or wanting to put a negative spin on the fandom, but on the contrary, it actually helps us out.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't see anything that is close.
No, yeah, because when you say like talk about a Raiders fan, like there's an image that comes in your mind, right? Whatever image that may be there to be positive or negative. Like you don't say Eagles fan and like. That doesn't have any anything attached to it.
Right.
Like no not necessarily. Well, maybe there is some negative connotation to it, but it's not really like you don't really that's not really an identity to it, right? Like any other fan base, maybe Cowboys fans may be obnoxious, but with the Raiders, like you think about Raiders, y'all immediately like it draws up some kind of emotion in you, whether that be good or bad.
Yeah, that's facts, man. But I'm actually glad that the fandom is what it is, because I don't think that if it wasn't that way, we wouldn't have met.
No, yes,
we wouldn't have this family of content creators that help and support each other out and create all this wonderful content, because there wouldn't be anything to care about.
No,
it would kind of be like a seasonal thing to where, okay, when football's on, everybody's talking about it, but then football season's over, then okay, let's move on to the next one. We don't do that. Season's over. Then we start talking about what's the first thing that happens. The No, it's where the college players go to the
draft.
No, before that, combine. Yeah. So we're talking about the combine, and then the combine, talking about the draft, then free agency, then OTAs, and then it just goes on. It nonstop.
Always something. I mean, NFL. I commend the NFL. Turned it into
yes, definitely. And thank you, because that gives us something to talk about.
Exactly.
So all right, now let's go to our final question. What are your goals as a content creator? Because I've asked other content creators, and they have dreams of making this a career.
Yeah.
Going to work for maybe a paid site where they can actually become professionals, kind of like Hugh Myers does with Locked On Raiders and stuff. ESPN. What are your goals?
So man, I used to want to be like a sports anchor. That was like one of my dreams I had. But in terms of this, man, this is just more like a passion project for me, man.
Gotcha.
I just love like talking to Raider fans. I love talking about sports in general. My favorite thing to do. That's why I'm always joking. Is like I love to make people laugh. I just love to tell jokes, make people laugh. So man, like.
Bring in somebody real quick. We're gonna make sure he comes to the stage.
Oh, look who joined us.
Look who arrived. Look who decided to bless us with his presence.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize for my tardiness. Okay, I had
Here we
to.
go.
Oh no, let me fix my camera. So
here's the soundboard.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Who let this dude in?
King has returned to his throne. My loyal subjects, I appreciate you holding down the fort for me. I do thank you so very much. It feels good to
What is this malarkey?
It feels good to be home. Back in my kingdom. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, give these men a round of applause, please. Thank you.
Boo this man.
Please, thank you.
Oh yeah. I got that too. Hold on. I got that too.
Boo this man.
Thank you.
Oh man.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I have returned. to my rightful throne.
Like,
This look
this
like-
gives me opportunity to, like do that with, some awesome people. I've got to meet you through this. I got to meet Pharaoh, obviously 805 and Chris and all the TRS. And these are people that even like outside of football, like these are people I would be cool with like for the rest of my life.
Yeah, like you were telling me earlier, you've been
Man, the TRS group chat gets crazy. Just leave it. It gets crazy. So yeah, man. So I just I just love to like I said, make people laugh, keep people informed. I love to talk sports, man. So this is just something that gives me an opportunity to do all of that. If it's something where I can eventually turn it into a career, that'll be awesome. Like if you get to have a career doing something you love,
Right.
like who wouldn't want that?
right. So it's more of a passion project.
It's a passion project. No, I still do like money though. So,
No, of course.
If you want to help people out.
No, for sure.
But yeah, it's just something I love to do, man. The fact that I get to do it with some people that I like really just like love and respect as human beings and for who they are and how they carry themselves, how they conduct themselves. I couldn't be a more fortunate person. I said, man, like guys like Chris and 805 and even Pharaoh, like a lot of you yourself, like you guys have to like start your channels and kind of like build. Now, I was fortunate enough that people saw enough in me and like respecting my talent and abilities and what I brought to the table enough to they had already established platforms and they felt, hey, I'm gonna share my platform with this person. So like I couldn't have been more fortunate. Like I said, Big Mike, man, he lended me his platform, gave me some logos, never asked for a thing. Pharaoh, started a weekly show with me, a guy that had never really done this before. Can't thank him enough. 805 was a guy, he just saw these two guys on camera talking Raiders football like what we did, helped us set up our first draft show at the Ahern. And then, Chris and 805, those both way bigger channels than me. They both saw enough in me where, hey, you know what? You want to bring him aboard and make this thing a weekly thing and consistently do this. So, man, like I've been super fortunate, man. And that's just, I can't thank those guys enough.
And I think that's another key point of what's so awesome about the Raider Nation content creators is that they're selfless, because like Chris and other individuals that have, hundreds, if not thousands of followers already, and they give individuals like us the opportunity, and when like in every family, there's dysfunction.
Exactly.
There's going to be those individuals that just hate, but knock on wood, I haven't had that opportunity. Well, I haven't had that happen yet. Everybody that I've associated with have been nothing but helpful, nothing but supportive, and I love that. I totally love that. And that in turn makes me want to do it as well. To where I see other individuals that, want to start something or want to do something like, what? I'll help you out. You need a logo? I'll do this. You need some printed? I got you. How much? Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We'll help each other out. I do for you today. Maybe I'm going to need your help tomorrow. But that's what I think the Raider Nation encompasses, man. And that's why I love it. And everything I can do, as small as my channel is, but I love the fact that I'm able to let everybody else know the individual behind the entity, behind the logo, behind the YouTube channel, because that I think is what's important. I know there's individuals out there that maybe have the same mindset as you, maybe know ball, but don't have the confidence or don't have the connections to be able to get on there. And and hearing your story, maybe, oh wait, maybe if I just reach out, it can happen.
Yeah,
So yeah, man. But yeah. So anything else you want to let the Raider Nation know? Stuff that you're working on, stuff that you're planning on doing, stuff that you want to invite them to.
Yeah, man. As I said before, man, I've named a lot of channels on here. Please, everybody I mentioned on here, go follow all those people. If you haven't already, subscribe to Dub Raider, who is building a great channel. I love what he does. Make sure you subscribe there as well. And to the point he just made, man, if there's anybody out there that was thinking about, starting their own channel or doing something like this, I was a person where I was apprehensive about it initially. but just do it. Just start. Just start. Don't worry about being perfect or how great it is or how good the mic sounds or any of that stuff. Just start, and then you will build from there. Because if you wait till everything is perfect, sometimes it'll never happen for you. But other than that, just make sure you guys lock in with your boy at the Severe Raider, IG, Snapchat, TikTok, X, basically all social media. It's at the Severe Raider. Tuesdays and Sundays, I'm with the Raider War Room. My brother's 805 and Christian Protect the Shield. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm with my brother Pharaoh NFL with the 50-50 show and Around the Shield. And I appreciate you and all you guys' support, man. From 0 subscribers to almost 1,200 now. So I don't thank you guys enough.
No, man, that's dope. Again, thanks for your time, brother. I'm sorry it took so long. You were the what do they call that? What is that term when they save the best for last?
Oh, yeah.
Not that Chris is a bad thing because he was the first.
Yeah. That was a dope interview too, man.
Well, I had to take him to Compton, man. I had to show him where Kendrick Lamar did his video.
Yeah.
Had to take him to the beach, obviously, because we are SoCal.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, it was great. And again, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time, and we're definitely gonna be doing things together. We will definitely do some watch parties here at the Dank Bar in City of Hawthorne. Hopefully, right now I'm just thinking because are you gonna be in town for the first game of the season against the Patriots?
Yes.
Because that might be a good day, man. If they allow us, we can do it.
Yeah.
We're putting it on our camera, so
Exactly.
We'll let you know if everything works out. We can do a watch party right here. We'll get some games going, get some drinks going, and water for Severe. Don't drink, but he wanted to have an interview at a bar, which that's pretty dope. But yeah, Raider Nation, again, don't forget to check out Raider Nation Roll Call. Check out the Raider Nation Weekly Wire with myself and Chris every Sunday at noon. And now the Stogie Nation with Pedro from Legacy of the Shield. That one, we don't have the dates quite set yet, but we're going to try and drop one every 2 weeks, hopefully. Working on the Violator right now to interview him about his cigars. So, we'll see what's up. But again, Raider Nation, don't forget, everything we do is for the nation, by the nation. Peace.